Genuinely, the only reason I let that play all the way out is I really like that title theme. Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. I am not saying that full title every time because it's a mouthful. Time for us to finish off the Super Nintendo trilogy with, admittedly, the most experimental game out of the original trilogy, for better or worse, as we'll see as we get through it. The big thing to note is that you do have a name input here for your file that you can get up to 5 characters with, and a lot of the game's cheat codes that will go on into later on during later levels depend on what you input there after certain other cheat codes, and from there how they interact with the game depends on which ones you used.
Hello there, it's me, Mrs. Wrinkly Kong. I have found life too hectic at school with all those naughty Kremlings pestering me all the time. If you need to save your game, Dixie, call here anytime. And I'll record your progress on my new what's-it machine for you.
Like in the last game, Wrinkly Kong is our save points. However, unlike the Kong College in the last game, you don't need to pay anything to actively use it.
What's that? You want to see The Lost World? Which channel is that on, Dixie?
Getting a little bit ahead of yourself there, Wrinkly. We're not getting to that until part 10, I think, ish. Maybe 12. Somewhere in that range. Now, from here, we can go to 2 places. We can either come over here to Bazaar's General Store or over here to Funky's Rentals. Let's get some long-term goals here at Bazaar's. Hello there, young Dixie. My name is Bazaar, and this is my general store. All my brothers are scattered over these lands. Pop in and say hello if you meet them on your travels. So then, how can I be of assistance to you?
Where's that shell from?
This shell was found at the bottom of Lake Orangatanga and is pretty rare. At 5 bear coins, it's a bargain. Would you like to purchase this fine specimen?
I don't know it.
Not interested? Never mind, I'm sure some lucky person will snap it up soon.
What about the mirror?
Yeah, but it's no ordinary one though. It was Cranky's great-grandfather's. I can't let it go for less than 50 coins. Can I interest you in buying this fabulous item? Not interested. Same thing. Catch you later, Dixie. I'm open 24 hours, you know. The bear coins are a new collectible added in the levels that you use to buy very specific things at very specific points to get things for 100% more or less.
Yo, Dixie, what's happening? I've set up my smoking new boat shop on this island, but that's not all. I've also brought along your excellent cousin Kiddie Kong along for the ride. He may be a toddler, but if you let him throw you upwards, you'll almost reach the stars. Oh yeah. And if you throw him, his humongous body can smash through the floor of some areas. Trust me.
Funky Kong this time around isn't so much a fast travel system as he is your main travel mechanic, as he gives you several boats throughout the game to progress this game's much more expansive overworld. We actively have an overworld that you can move about freely in, albeit more limited to start at the game, before getting to the individual worlds where the levels are contained. I like this system a lot for how they handle the game. It's what they do in the levels at times that can be a little bit irritating. With that said, the first level, Lakeside Limbo, is relatively straightforward. Starting off, the game plays relatively identically to the last game. Dixie even still has her helicopter spin if you press the Y button while in midair. And the collectibles are all more or less the same. We got the K.O.S letters, for instance, that give you a 1-up if you get all 4 within a level. In most cases, there's one level in the US version of the game that's a little bit bugged with that, but more on that later. We got bonus barrels in the stages once again that allow you to get the true ending if you get them all, which we will be doing throughout this LP. Where you get that one is throw Kiddie in the air with Dixie and land him right on top of that. The way you throw in the game is you press the A button, and then you press it while holding up or forward or even just jumping to throw someone in a direction. Most of the bonus levels use the exact same ideas as they did in the last game. But you gotta say, get to the coin itself at the end of the level, you gotta get a certain amount of stars, you gotta take out all the enemies under certain stipulations. It's relatively straightforward. Also returning our DK coins, which are your super collectibles. Like, these are the things you really want to get for endgame. However, unlike DKC2, they're not just placed in level. Now they're all held by a specific Kremling known as Coin. And you have to defeat him in order to get the DK coin. You only can defeat him with barrels, namely steel barrels in most cases. Part of the puzzles in every level is to not only find coin, but figure out how to get the barrel into him so you can get the DK coin. Sometimes it's as simple as just finding him because the barrel's right next to him, other times not so much. I think this is a new type of minigame, actually. We now have green bananas that can teleport into one of, I think, 5 usually locations per screen that these minigames happen in, and you just need to get a certain amount of them before the timer runs out. These start out pretty simple, but sometimes they can be a little bit treacherous because the thing with minigames, once again, is if you get hit once in them, you're done. Thankfully, DKC 3 doesn't do the thing DKC 1 did, in that in order to get the full percentage, you need to do a bonus within a bonus, but it can be a little annoying all the same. But now we have our first new animal buddy in the game. This is Ellie the Elephant, sort of this game's Rambi, because Rambi's absent this time around. She has some unique abilities that Rambi didn't, for instance, but we're not going to be able to use those until very specific levels anyway, so I won't bring them up until then. By and large, she can pick up barrels, can stomp on heavier foes that only maybe Kitty can kill otherwise, and otherwise is just good for taking an extra hit point, because every Kong is a one-hit kill anyway, or a one-hit point wonder, rather. The bear coins we're going to be getting throughout the levels as well, and they're usually a lot easier to find. They're about as easy, I'd say, as the bananas, which again are coins. You get 100 of them, you get one up. And that they're located relatively liberally throughout the levels. If you get a full stack of 99 throughout the game, I think you're by and large good to get everything. And I do believe they are saved in your safe house, so I don't need to worry too much about them. With that said, we are now onto the second level. This is Doorstop Dash, whereas Lakeside Limbo didn't really have a mechanic. By and large, every level moving forward is going to have some sort of unique gimmick or mechanic to it, as did DKC2. For instance, here we have door handles we need to grab onto by either throwing Dixie or Diddy into the air, or Kitty. It's gonna take me a while to get used to saying Kitty, because Kiddie Kong's not really often brought up. And when you pull down those levers, they open a door that's on a timer from there on. And then you just need to go through the door at that point. Relatively straightforward. But there are times where they pull the timing a little bit close. It's not really dangerous at all, but they're trying to ease us in. Sorry if you heard that. I think I bumped my phone just then. With that said, I should note, a lot of the early levels of the game have warp barrels that allow you to easily reach the end of a level really quickly. For instance, back in Lakeside Limbo, right before the first DK barrel, which is how you get extra Kongs in case you get hit, you need to swap over to Kitty by pressing the select button, or is it the A button? It's one of the two. I think it's select. Yeah, it's select. And then throw Dixie up to the top left. At that point, you're just teleported right to the level, the flag at the end of the stage. And there's even one in this stage that is after reaching, I think it's the second floor of the area. You do the same thing, but throw Dixie to the top right of the area. By and large, a lot of the warp barrels are just straight up shortcuts to the end of the level in this game, which was a little bit of a consistency since DKC 1. But like DKC 1 and 2, they stopped doing them at a certain point throughout the game, more or less. I think there might be like one late game level that has one, but even then it's either super well hidden or just not worth going for. Like DKC 1, by the way, you can tell a couple of things from what's going on the world map when it comes to the levels. For instance, if the flag is pink, Dixie cleared it. If the flag is blue, Kitty cleared it. That's more of a thing for co-op than single player, though. The big things to note are whether or not it has an exclamation point, as well as I think the DK coin gets marked as well. The exclamation point means you've found every bonus in the stage, or doesn't mean it's 100%. I forget they actively showed the DK coin on screen in this one, despite me recording this footage less than a month ago. That's kind of admittedly the problem, and I think I brought this up a couple times recently, of doing LPs the way I do now, where I mass record 2 or 3 games at once and then edit the footage afterwards. I sometimes forget minute details like that. In most cases, when it comes to getting the DK coin from Coin himself, the barrels themselves are infinitely spawning. There's only a couple of levels in the game where it's one and done and then you need to replay the level again. And usually in those cases, the levels are easier to make up for it, or at least simpler to get through. So you don't need to worry about it too much, but still, make sure you make your shots count. By and large, every world does have a wrinkly save cave. With that said, how far it is in the world depends on the world itself, so there are times where the save cave's at the start of the world, and if you're getting low on lives, you might want to backtrack it just so you don't lose your progress. Admittedly, though, this is one of the harder DKCs to get a game over in, because despite it having some harder levels to get 100% in, I feel they throw lives at you a bit more regularly because of it. Oh, another bear.
Hello there, how's it going, Kongs? Barnacle's me name, and I've set up home here to build up me shell collection. Have you seen my shell collection? It's nearly complete.
Can you guess what we need there? If you said the shell from Bazaar, no shit. Notably, there is a couple things I'm not getting in the world right now because I want to wait a little bit to introduce those little hidden secrets in some of these worlds, just so I can do a few more at once. Earlier on, the game also does a better job at hinting when there's something secret you can do, like right there, where they'll just show a button that you might need to press in order to grab an item. Because, for instance, we already got coin right there. I should note, by the way, there is some minor hitbox shenanigans when it comes to the Kongs in this game, and that sometimes if you're standing in an awkward position, you can't swap between Dixie and Kitty. And it gets a little annoying, but it just requires slightly adjusting your position more often than not. And here we got the admittedly very rarely returning On Guard once again. Like with the prior games, he's the fastest way to swim, he can charge right through enemies, and if you hold the A button, you can even do a supercharge that just sends him zooming. It's the only way to get certain bonuses in the game. With that said, there's not too many times water shows up in this game, period, at least in terms of being able to swim in it like this. So On Guard's, if he's not the least used animal buddy in the game, he's like second or third. Animal buddies, I feel, take a little less prevalence in this game compared to the prior ones. Sort of. Like, this game still has, say, an Animal Antics level, like DKC2 did. But frankly, it's not as late into the game, and it's also not as hard. And I will say, in general, DKC3 does feel like it's the easiest in terms of its main levels. Some of its other details, difficulty-wise, not so much. I'm especially thinking of some of the boss fights. With that said, we also have probably the most, I want to say, guide-dang-it ability in the game that's only maybe in the manual. Kitty can leap off water like a stone. The way you do that is you need to do a running roll by pressing the Y button and holding the Y button and then pressing it again right before going off a ledge. And while you're still in the roll animation, you need to, I believe, tap the jump button right as you hit the precipice of the water to just bounce off of it. You can do 3 bounces at any point in time, as long as you have water that Kitty can jump off of. The game uses that in a couple of cases, and I think it's only outright explained in the manual, which I'll go over a bit of the manual and a bit more in-depth next part, so I'll have less to explain at that point. I don't like that ability of Kitty because it's kind of uninteresting. Like, the reason people played Diddy in DKC1, for instance, was that he was smaller and could be a bit more agile for getting around enemies, even though DK could destroy certain heavier enemies. The reason people played Dixie in Donkey Kong Country 2 was because she could fly. Kitty doesn't really get to be used as much in platforming in this game because Dixie can still fly, and there's not really much you could do about that, unless they outright made someone straight up able to fly instead of just, like, do a slight jump extending hover. With that said, we are now on to Skidazz Row. This is our first ice level of the game, and thus we have ice physics, as you can see, which makes it a little bit tense to get around in certain situations when you start accelerating through enemies, because this does have the things the prior games did, where if you hit an enemy and you're still in mid-attack animation, you'll slowly speed up just barreling through enemies, pun unintentional. And because of this, it can actually be some of the harder bonuses to get through, because your sliding can be a little bit hard to predict in terms of your momentum. With that said, I should note, I believe Tidal Trouble does have a warp barrel. I think it's after the first Coco enemy. You need to jump onto the short platform and you need to throw Dixie northwest. And this level also does as well. It's after, I think, the first house in the level. You need to throw Dixie up to the top left of the screen as well. I say I believe because, I'll be honest, I never use warp barrels in this game because I'm going for 100%. I'm not a speedrunner. In fact, I will just say, alright, I'm probably getting most of the information about those maybe off the Donkey Kong Mario wiki. Maybe. You don't know that for a fact. By that I mean you know exactly that's what I'm doing. Because I like the Donkey Kong Country games. I've kind of softened on them compared to when I LP'd Donkey Kong Country 1.
But I don't play them too much.
With that said, Skidazz Row is a comparatively short level. There's not really much going on here outside of the ice physics, and some iffy hitboxes because of that. Like that. By and large, I probably should have been able to attack the enemy, but I believe because I technically touched the bottom of the sprite, it counted me as below them, and thus I was sort of crushed beneath them. This game is impressive for the Super Nintendo in a lot of ways, especially graphically. This game looks phenomenal for the Super Nintendo. But it's got some technical murk to combine with that. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we're going to go finish off World 1 before starting off World 2. See you guys then.